Yo, what's up? Today I'm going to show you the best way to build your Br3 armies. Br3, also known as mid-BR due to its moderate power level, is possibly the best and most fun way to play Enlisted. Main reasons for that are the very comfy matches, which aren't too slow but also not too fast, giving you a very nice flow of battle. B, the very well developed historical accuracy, meaning you can pick basically every weapon that was common and known in World War II to play it without seeing too many prototype weapons, but also without not seeing crucial weapons, which is usually the case in too low BRs. And also you get some of the absolutely best maps the whole game has to offer in your mid-BR selection. For example, you get all the good Tunisia maps, you get all the good Moscow maps, and also the great Normandy maps. First, I'll give you a general overview of the mid-BR metagame and environment, and then we dive into the national tech trees. So, in general, mid-BR significantly differs from low BR, so BR1 and 2, due to the strong power level jump. The tanks, for example, on BR2 force you to pick whether you want tank destroyers or tanks with strong HE but weak anti-tank capabilities, or medium tanks which are a mix of both but not really good at either. In BR3 you don't have to do that. In BR3 you start getting just overall really strong tanks and you don't really have any downsides anymore. And the only thing you pick is where you want to be even above average better, but you don't get any problems. This is important because this means that you're going to get constantly spammed with tanks, and these tanks are also quite hard to take out. Same thing goes for all the other weapon types too. Planes start getting ridiculously strong without any downsides at all, at least not the ones played commonly. Machine guns go from 20 and 25 round disappointments to 50 round monsters. SMGs start getting ridiculously good for every single nation, whereas on low BR some nations have to somehow make do with some not that good SMGs, and possibly the biggest jump you see in the main rifles, because low BR dominated by bolt actions, and the semi-auto rifles you see on low BR are almost all bad and overall worse than the bolt actions. On mid BR you start seeing really good semi-auto rifles like the Garand, and this is the breaking point where bolt actions get less and less common, although still very playable, and semi-autos start significantly accelerating the speed of engagements you see. Because whereas on low BR you can quite safely run with your squad into an area and expect an exchange of kills, on mid BR what can easily happen is that you just get quickly wiped and your whole squad is dead by just one single enemy. So this is something you need to watch out for, especially when you're evaluating whether you should rush a point with your whole squad to maximize your firepower, or if you want to play it safe and just send in one soldier at a time and let your other soldiers wait behind. Another difference is that engineer structures like anti-tank guns, anti-air guns, machine gun nests and so on become relatively weaker to the environment compared to low BR, because in low BR the anti-tank gun easily dominates every tank you're gonna see. On mid BR it's not that way anymore. On mid BR the enemy tanks easily take your anti-tank gun out, and you're gonna struggle quite often to take out the enemy tank with even 2 or 3 hits. So this is something you need to keep in mind. Also on low BR the planes are usually very slow, and it's very easy to kill them with anti-air guns, especially after the very recent buff. But on mid BR the planes start getting ridiculously fast, also start getting insane amounts of ammunition, easily being able to snipe you from far away. So your engineering structure skills have to be better. Also, machine gun nests, very strong and effective on low BR, simply due to the fact that they are the basically strongest weapon you can use. On mid BR they are still great, but not the strongest thing overall anymore. So the value of engineer squads drops a little bit, but still, of course, very useful. But what definitely increases in value are grenade launchers, because they get introduced into mid BR, and this is one of the biggest changes overall, because the grenade launcher spam begins at mid BR. It's significant to know and always take into account, because whenever you're defending something, you want to avoid cluttering up the objective with your whole squad. You always want to spread out your soldiers. You always want to hide them somewhere. You never want to have your whole mass be concentrated in one point, especially if you see your bot teammates do this mistake. You want to be the one who's not doing it, so always stay away from your teammates, always keep distance, and make sure you don't get blown up that easily. Also, grenade launchers, since you can use them yourself, become a very nice and welcome tool to not only blow up groups of enemies, or blow up hidden enemies, or if your aiming skills become really good, to shoot parabolically behind covers on long ranges, or clear out houses and stuff like that, or even clear out engineer structures, or even clear out tanks. As you can see, they clear out basically everything. They are even the best answer to APCs because anti-tank grenade launchers can easily one-shot an APC, whereas tanks quite often struggle with that. Not only that, but grenade launchers are also one of the best ways to grind in Enlisted, because every new squad usually doesn't have specialist slots except for one, and many squads even don't have that good specialists or don't have access to good weapons once you unlock them the first time. But if you just start filling up your squads with only riflemen and giving them double grenade launchers, it becomes very quick and easy to grind with the squad. So this is a very viable and important strategy to know, especially for new players, and one that will help you a lot. And also one that, since it's very strong and well known, you will constantly encounter in your Br3 games. Another weapon you encounter for the first time on mid-BR are the Flamethrowers, but they're significantly weaker than the high BR versions due to having only half of the jet length. So they're not really a problem. They're more or less a good solution for very specific maps, for very specific objectives, if you have lots of slots, but overall you won't see them that often in your enemy armies. But what you will definitely see is enemies suddenly appearing out of nowhere or seemingly always knowing where your rally points are and constantly attacking you from strange directions. Now this isn't wall hacking. In basically all cases this is enemies knowing the maps very well, because obviously if you play mid-BR, most of your enemies will be players who played the game for a long time, contrary to low BR where you have lots of new players. And these players know these maps very well, and many maps enlisted are highly dependent on knowing the map. The more complicated a map is, the more specific areas it has. Specific means whether you can use it very well by gray zone tanks or whether you can use it well to place some hidden structures or do ambush maneuvers and so on. All of this significantly changes the way your enemies can play the game, and if you don't know these facts about the specific map, you will be constantly surprised. And constantly being ambushed and not knowing or not even being able to expect the ambush and prepare for that or just avoid it or even ambush the enemies yourself, this is obviously a strong penalty on the performance that you're playing. So you absolutely want to know the maps by just playing them quite often and learning them, or just by looking at the games uploaded for a specific map, because it takes usually 10 to 20 times of playing a map yourself to really know it. But if you just watch someone else play it and can constantly pause the game to look at the map for as long as you want in a specific area, this is by far the easiest way to learn a map, and also the fastest way, also the exact way that I did it, after noticing myself how extremely long it usually takes to really get to know a map in Enlisted. So what you generally want from a good Br3 army is the flexibility to adjust to all types of situations. Meaning no matter what the enemy does, you have an answer for, and even preferably you can do proactive strategies, meaning adapting to the map depending on what play styles the map allows. If the map demands a very fast push on the first objective, you want a quick army. If the point is open and demands lots of high explosive spam like artillery strikes, tank HE shells and so on, you need something to have that. Or if the map is very close combat heavy, like a closed map full of buildings, you want an army, you at least want one squad with good full auto weapons on short range. It's important to have all of this within your army, because if you don't, very likely your enemies will. And then if you have a gap in your skill set, this is exactly where you can start losing games due to not having a specific solution for a specific problem. So this is something you want, flexibility. On low BR it's not that important, because on low BR, if you have a weak spot within what your army can do, it usually doesn't matter. You can just brute force your way into a win, because your enemies usually won't be that strong. And also, if you're good with bolt actions or good with engineer structures, you can also just outplay everything. But on mid BR, the power level of the enemy's weapons will be too strong. You can't really brute force anymore. You really have to actually play smart and use the right tool for the right situation. And congruent with that, you want an army that can fight at all distances. This is quite similar to being flexible, but the distance metric is making it easier to understand, because on low BR, you inevitably have many bolt actions. So you can deal quite well with enemies on longer ranges. On short range, well, you don't really need that many short range answers, because the enemy's short range weapons, like SMGs, won't be that good. So you can still deal with them with bolt actions. So you can get away by literally playing only bolt actions. The enemy weapons won't be strong enough to outplay you constantly. But on mid BR, you need specific weapons who have high power levels on specific distances, because the enemies will have them too. And you can't really outplay a good machine gun with 800 fire rate on short range with your bolt action. Yeah, not possible. Occasionally yes, but not constantly. So you really want an all distance army, meaning we want weapons that are good on long range, mid range and short range. Same thing goes for ways to deal with vehicles. Because if a gray zone tank camps on mid BR, this is usually causing a loss if you can't deal with this gray zone tank. Because the tanks, as I said, are too strong. So you absolutely need ways to be able to deal with these tanks. Same thing with planes. There are some planes who are ridiculously strong on mid BR. For example, the German destroyer planes, the BF Destroyer series, with its 37mm cannons, and for very strong rockets. This plane is very easy to shoot down. It can't properly defend itself, and if you hit it even a little bit, it loses maneuverability and the pilot crashes. So once you engage it, you're usually safe. But if you don't engage this plane, it can completely outdamage all other vehicles. It can even outdamage P-47s due to its weapons. So things like that need to be answered, and you need to have the answers. And we're going to make sure that your army, according to the recommendations I'm going to show you now, will have all the answers. So let's start with our first nation. And we start with the Germans, who are not only the most popular faction, but also the one of the biggest, most well filled up tech tree. You get basically the most types of rifles, the most types of different SMGs. Same thing goes for tanks and especially planes. It's absolutely insane. If you really like World War II, you're gonna find lots of things, lots of iconic stuff in this tech tree. So, looking at Br3, first of all, don't make the mistake of only looking at Br3 when you're playing Br3. Two reasons for that. First of all, these numbers here are the tech progression, it's not the BR. Because sometimes weapons get up or down tiered, or due to how clustered up a tech tree is, sometimes you have to put stuff left or right of a particular technology level with the new updates. So there will be Br3 weapons that are either here or here. So don't only look at this. This is something many new players make. This is a mistake many new players make. And then they wonder, oh, for example, this Panzer 4J is Br3, although he's in the tier 4 tech tree, and so on. Or if you look at the wonderful MP40, which is at the end of the tier 3 tech tree, but it's a Br2 weapon because it got downgraded. So yeah, that's the first thing. And the second thing is, depending on the amount of players currently trying to get into a game, one of two systems is used to put you into a match. A, if there are too few people trying to queue, the old system is used, and that means you get either down tiered into a BR1 or 2 match, or you get up tiered into a BR4 or 5 match. meaning Br3 players get thrown into one of two extreme types of games, which is bad because you obviously will either play against players with very weak equipment or players with very strong equipment. The other system, and that's a new system, is, and that you see also here, which is also the indicator that indirectly shows you whether many players right now are trying to queue or not, is the more finely tuned system, and it's a system that you can expect to be playing against either BR2, 3 or 4 players, meaning the BR variance is just +1, -1, which leads to much fairer games than what we had previously. So this means that, well, if you get down tiered, no problem for you, but if you get up tiered, you want to have some ways to deal with the stronger enemies, especially with their stronger tanks, because these are usually the main problem. So, understanding this, we can start looking at the German tech tree. Entering Br3, the Germans get their first proper, strong, reliable semi-auto rifle, and it's the Gewehr 41. Less famous and less often produced than the Gewehr 43, but in Enlisted, it's your first taste of a really strong upgrade towards the previous weapons. Here's the deal with the Gewehr 41. If you are semi-auto rifle lover, and if you played semi-auto rifles on low BR, you really want to upgrade to Gewehr 41s, because this is significantly better than any semi-auto rifle you get before. Not only do you get a 10-round magazine, not only do you get one of the best sights in the game, very close to the Kar98K sights, you also get a bayonet, reducing your recoil by 10%, and giving you the ability to charge and to step on short range, which is great, because semi-auto rifles usually also lead you to being quite close to your enemies, and you can also just surprise them. Also, a charge is like an 11th bullet very often. And you also have the reliability of an overall better weapon. So, significant upgrade over all the semi-auto rifles, but here's the good news if you want to save silver. If you prefer bolt actions, you don't need to upgrade to the Gewehr 41, because if you prefer, if you have fun with them, and if you're good with them especially, your performance will be roughly the same of a Gewehr 41. Also, your play style changes a bit, because the Gewehr 41 isn't that good on long range, but with the good bolt actions you can easily one-shot everything on long range, so the Gewehr 41 isn't an overall significant upgrade. The last argument that will help you to decide whether you want it is the price. Semi-auto rifles absolutely need all the upgrades they can get, due to the additional damage they deal, especially since the last star gives you plus 20% damage, putting the 100 meter distance damage on beyond 10, meaning you can one-shot enemy bots on most distances, especially soldiers who don't have vitality, which will roughly be 50% of all your enemy soldiers. So very, very important. Problem is, as a 6-star weapon, it's extremely expensive to upgrade the last star. So if you want to save on silver, you can just instead invest your silver into other important weapons, important upgrades like machine guns, which are an absolute must-buy over the previous ones, whereas the Gewehr 41 semi-auto rifle isn't that much necessary to buy over the previous weapons. Then, regarding sniper rifles, there's literally nothing in Br3. The only things you get are sniper rifles that used to be Br3 but were down tiered because they're so bad it's just a joke. But you get the grenade launchers. What you need to know about them is, despite being really strong, especially especially once you learn how to aim with them, it's that both grenade launchers are exactly the same rifle. It's Kar98K, and they are similarly good against infantry. You have the normal anti-infantry grenade launcher and the anti-tank grenade launcher. Many people think that anti-tank grenade launcher implies it's not good against infantry, but nope, it's actually better against infantry than the normal version, due to a overall less buggy explosion effect, and it also reliably deals with tanks. It one-shots many tanks from the front, like weak tanks from the front, and it one-shots most tanks from the side, even stronger ones. And of course it destroys APCs very nicely and anti-tank guns, stuff like that. Very good, perfect weapon. The best news about these grenade launchers is that you don't need to upgrade them. Because since it's just a bolt action, the upgrades aren't that important, and most of the time you will only use the grenades anyway, and the grenades basically aren't affected at all by these upgrades. So, yep, you can literally just save yourself the silver and just buy them and use them naked without any upgrades, making them a very nice, cheap, efficient option to equip your whole army. Then, regarding the SMGs, as already said, Germans have the best variety, the widest variety of SMGs out of all nations. With the Japanese being close, though, what they get usually is just the same SMG 3 times or 4 times copied with slight improvements. The Germans actually have a really good selection, especially for history lovers, by having SMGs from many different nations. You can pick German SMGs, you can pick Italian SMGs, you can pick Czech SMGs and stuff like it. It's insanely good. Most important thing to know here is that since the MP40 was down tiered from Br3 to Br2, basically every Br2 player will have the MP40s ready, since they are by far the best Br2 SMG for Germans. This MP40 is so good you don't really need to buy new tier 3 SMGs. So for those who want to save silver, this is again very good news. For those who really want to buy something new and something fun, there's also good news, because out of these, well, there's actually only one really good weapon, and it's a ZK. Reason for that is the ZK was buffed a couple months ago in numerous ways. It was made faster and the recoil was reduced, so you just got an overall much better weapon. If you compare the ZK with the other weapons, it's just overall better. The MP35 is okay, though it's too similar to an MP40, not much better. The Beretta is also too similar to an MP40, but much better. And the Beretta 40 rounds, yeah, that's actually the first weapon that's better than MP40, but it's BR4. Although its firepower, power level is too low. So yeah, like the choice is quite obvious. The ZK is by far the best and only SMG worth buying for Br3. If you really want to spice things up and invest the silver, my clear recommendation is to dual wield both weapons, because MP40 has high precision and low fire rate, meaning it's really good on longer ranges. ZK has a very high fire rate but less precision, meaning it's great on short range but worse on longer ranges. So what you want to do is you want to dual wield both, MP40 first, ZK secondary, and then you can start every engagement with the MP40, and once you run out of bullets or once the enemies get closer, just switch to ZK and you will have perfect firepower at all distances and easily spray enemies away. Also keep in mind the 6-star curse strikes again. All of these are costing 6 stars, so it's quite expensive to upgrade them. And keep in mind, in general, buying a new weapon from a higher BR is only worth it compared to a previous weapon if you upgrade it completely. Because even though the MP40 is worse than something like, let's say, a Beretta 40, as long as the Beretta 40 isn't perfectly upgraded, it will be overall worse than a perfectly upgraded MP40. So the upgrading is all absolutely crucial when you want to make decisions regarding what you buy or not. So SMGs, quite clear case. What's even clearer is the machine gun situation, because Br3 finally gives you the famous MG34, together with the MG42, the two standard machine guns of the German army and the two most famous ones. Now MG42, due to its ridiculous fire rate and overall power, is BR4, but the MG34 is Br3, and this is a no-brainer must-buy and absolutely great investment for your silver, because comparing this to the previous machine guns, yeah, previous machine guns start out with a horrible one, to a playable one, to a playable one, and now you suddenly get a really good one. Reason for that is a really good fire rate. 800 means you can actually jump in front of a whole squad and just spray into the squad and the squad will die. Even a fire rate of 750, or okay, not that, but a fire rate of 600 gives the enemies enough time to shoot back. But a fire rate of 800, especially upgraded, doesn't give the enemies time. So this is great. And you actually, unlike the ZB26, get enough ammunition to spray away a whole squad, because now you suddenly get 50 bullets. So MG34, nicely historically accurately represented as an absolute backbone of your German forces, and a really good investment into your army. Strongly recommend to get not only this weapon in general, but also a machine gunner squad. Regarding squads, I will address the situation later. Very strong, and also very fun to play, and the sound is very nice as well. Then, regarding the heavy weapons, the Germans famously get the short end of the stick regarding anti-tank rifles, because they get the worst anti-tank rifles overall. Though they get something like a Sturm pistol, which is really good on short range, but unlike the anti-tank rifles, not good on long range. Or the GRB, which is in theory good when it's not bugged, though usually whenever something gets upgraded and listed, this thing gets bugged again, and then basically half of the year this weapon is bugged. This happened every single year since I started playing the game, so it's not that reliable. Also, you have to upgrade the GRB, which is a pain in the ass, but don't worry, Br3 gives you the Panzerfaust. Yes, because the Panzerfaust 60 is miles above anything else before. It's quite easy to aim, even at long range. You can do nice parabolic shots, so you can hit a tank behind a wall by just aiming in a curve. And it just penetrates insanely well. It has penetration of 180. 180. And it one-shots most tanks. It one-shots basically everything it penetrates. And it penetrates basically everything. So yes, the enemy tanks won't have a good life. Not even gray zone enemy tanks that you can, with some good aim, snipe at long ranges. So Panzerfaust, instant buy, and as an additional incentive to get it, it doesn't even require upgrades. Because there's nothing to upgrade since it's just a one-time use. Though you get multiple uses in your magazine, or in your reserve on your soldier, compared to something like the GRB or the anti-tank rifles that require to grind it, to upgrade it, and to pay silver to upgrade it. Yeah, Panzerfaust, no-brainer. Get yourself as many of them as possible, or at least one on every single anti-tank gunner, and get every of your squads an anti-tank gunner, because unlike the low BR German armies, which don't really have a need for anti-tank gunners because their weapons suck, Br3 German soldiers or German squads absolutely want an anti-tank gunner to Panzerfaust everything they see. So yep, absolute instant buy, highly recommended. And regarding the Flamethrowers, here's the funny part. They are, as I already said in the general overview, not really that strong. And there's simply too many other good things. Flamethrowers overall function quite similar to machine guns, because you can spray away over a longer period of time on short range, which is exactly what an MG34 does. They're harder, they're easier to use than a machine gun because you don't need to aim as well, but they're quite similar. Problem is, compared to an MG34 that you can use at all ranges, you can only use this at short range. And especially if you're free to play and only have 3 squad slots, using a Flamethrower squad that's not even that good, that's actually only good at short range, is just not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it, so overall can't recommend to use that. Same thing goes for all other nations. The Br3 Flamethrowers aren't really that good. Most often you will just die. You will just die instead of getting a bunch of kills, so yeah. Though, for the APCs, same thing as always, I recommend strongly to have an APC in your army. On Br3 they're even better than on Br2, arguably, because having the ability to be quick and mobile and to quickly flank enemies or run away from enemies and reposition yourself, very much needed, especially if the enemy places a well-positioned tank and starts shooting up your logistics, meaning your soldiers running from spawn to the objective. APCs are one of the few things that can save you. So yeah, APCs very much needed, especially since you can you can give the APCs a really good selection of specialists, basically giving them all types of specialists you want for all types of situations, especially the famous anti-tank man and radio man combo, meaning you can use the APC as a rally point and also call an artillery strike and blow up tanks. Yep, absolutely reliable. Looking at the tank situation, it's very simple because there's one tank that's clearly better than all other tanks, and it's the Panzer IV-J. Reason for this, it has the best cannon, the best armor, and the closest tank to this one is the Panzer IV-G, though this one has less armor on top, which makes it easier for the enemies to strafe you. So the Panzer IV-J is the clear winner. Main difference to Br2 Panzers is that in Br2 you always have to decide what you want, and this comes with upsides and downsides. If you want to be great at shelling infantry, Panzer IIIN is the best. If you want to be great against enemy tanks, the Puma is the best with its long 50mm. And if you want an all-round tank, then the Panzer IIIJ1 is the best, but still nothing too great. But in Br3 you have the luxury of having an actually great all-round tank. If you come grinding from Br2, the first tank that's worth buying is the Panzer IV F2, because this one's basically a weaker version of the J1, because it has a slightly worse cannon, because it's shorter. This one is L43, L means you multiply the caliber with the length number, so the length of the barrel is 75 times 43. This one has L48 cannon. And it has a little bit better armor on the top, and it has much better armor on the front hull, being 80mm compared to 50. So, but still, this Panzer IV F2 is the first tank that's better than all other tanks before. So this one's a clear buy. And then I recommend to just not necessarily upgrade it to save silver, and then just unlock the G and then the J version, and then put all your silver into making this tank perfect, because it's just an amazingly good tank. Also, it's quite a good investment for later, because if you want to get into Br4 and 5, the first next tank that's a significant upgrade will be the Panther A, but it's not worth buying, because after that you unlock the Panther G, which is much better than Panther A. So the next really best tank after the Panzer IV-J is the Panther G, which is 3 unlocks ahead. So putting your silver into this is a good investment. It will last you for a long time. If you want to be successful at tanking on mid-BRs and higher, the most important thing to know are the matchups. Because the stronger the enemy tanks, the less you can afford to get shot once. Because the first shot is usually going to kill you. So what you need to know is where to shoot the enemies, so your first shot always blows up the enemy tank. This is not like boxing where everyone takes a couple dozen hits. This is literally like fencing where the first hit lands and wins. So what you need to know about your tank in that regard is you have a really good cannon. You have a long 75mm. This will penetrate basically every tank if you shoot at the weak spots and blow the tank up with one hit. So this is good, but you yourself, you can tank some shots from most cannons, but if the enemy tanker knows what he's doing, you have a bad time, because look at these weak spots that you have. These are very wide, very flat, only thinly 50mm armored turret cheeks, and anyone shooting you into this or this area is going to instantly kill you. So you absolutely want to avoid giving the enemy a chance to shoot back. In order to do that, you need to know where to shoot the enemies, and here's what you do. Against Soviet tanks, if it's low BR tanks, it doesn't matter, you always kill them with one shot. This is easy. If it's Br3 tanks, you're either gonna fight against the KV-1s or the T-34s. Now the good thing is, even if you get up tiered against the Br4 versions, they are basically the same regarding the armor. So what you need to know is, for the T-34s, always shoot at the hull, because despite being sloped, it's instantly penetrated with your long 75. Instantly penetrated. The sloped armor doesn't help against a cannon like that. The only mistake you can do is if you try to shoot at a turret, because if you do that, yeah, in theory you also penetrate, but only in theory, because here you have quite a lot of randomness regarding how the game calculates your shot, and there's a lot that can go wrong. And if you don't kill the tank instantly, his 76mm is gonna kill you instantly. So always shoot at the hull, very easy, not much to think about, preferably of course at the machine gun port area, but yeah, you can also shoot here, it really doesn't matter, it's just gonna die. And the best thing is, the Br4 version with the much more dangerous cannon also still has its weak hull. So that doesn't matter, they all die, no questions asked. The only tank that can cause you headaches is the KV-1 due to its ridiculous armor. Here you need to absolutely search for green indicators because only a few areas actually are reliably killed with one shot. So make sure you just scan the area. If you hit a good flat area, it usually explodes. If you actually get a good clean shot into these flat areas, also explodes. Wherever you see stuff like metal in between the crew and you, meaning here if your main metal plate and then other metal areas, if your shot gets stuck somewhere here, it can, if you're unlucky, and you will be quite often unlucky, it cannot penetrate and then the enemy tank shoots back and you're dead. So yeah, with KV-1s make sure you actually aim well and search for green indicators, and then it's also possible. The worst thing that can happen is if you're up against the stronger KV-1, well, this one has a much stronger turret, so here you absolutely need to shoot at the hull. And despite the hull looking better armored, it's still much easier to kill than in the turret. And you see this machine gun port is even quite easier to locate and shoot at. With the KV-1s, what you preferably want to do is wait until he moves his turret to the sides, so he exposes the weak areas, and then you shoot into these, because KV-1 is exactly the type of tank that you don't want to duel straight ahead. It's just exactly the matchup. The tank was built in a way that he literally wins these types of duels, so yeah, you don't want to risk it. Against the Americans, it's much easier, because American tanks, they have usually very good turrets. If you look at the turrets, much better armored. And what you want to do with them is you just shoot at the hull. Same thing as with the Russians, or the Soviets. But here the hull is usually so gigantic, you can't even miss it. It's like the forehead of a 40-year-old American journalist. You can't miss it. It's super easy to see and find from far away. And you can just one shot and you penetrate and he's instantly dead. So you see, you don't even need to aim at the weak machine gun ports, unless you don't get a green indicator for some reason, but you always will. Now, the worst thing that can happen is if you get up-tiered. Well, obviously, because then you might play against a Jumbo. Jumbo, famously known for his gigantic armor. Well, here's the problem. Yep, having 100mm on the hull is ridiculous, and this is where you where you actually need to aim and think. First thought process is never shoot at the turret. This is literally, look at this, this is insane. Yes, this is what 177mm look like. You never shoot at a turret. What you want to shoot at the hull at is this weak machine gun port. Fun fact, if you hit it with a grenade launcher, he will also instantly explode with the anti-tank grenade launcher. So yeah, this machine gun port is an extreme weak spot. Also around this area, preferably in this underside, if you manage to get a shot here, straight from the front, you will penetrate into the, well, we can actually take a look by looking at the Americans. Now, where do the Americans be at? Well, I'm gonna explain while I'm searching. If you see this, you can actually shoot through this underside into these armored racks. So you need to shoot from the side, not exactly in the center, but I'm slightly from the side or slightly from the side. If you shoot exactly through the center, you might get lucky and you explode these central armor racks. If you're unlucky, your shell is going to detonate in the gears, in the transmission, instead of getting deeper in. Only killing the two front drivers, but still fine. But yeah, you see, it can get problematic and complicated if you're getting up tiered, because yeah, against against the strongest tanks in the game, you really need to know every single square inch of the tanks, because it's literally where you start to search for small weak spots. This is exactly also what tankers did in real life. They needed to learn everything inside out about enemy tanks, because you can't afford missing shots. But easy thing is, as long as it's not a jumbo where you need to hit one of the two weak spots, every American tank is easy to kill. If it's the M4 series, it might look like a jumbo but isn't a jumbo. You just shoot straight into the hull. Though if you want to be sure, just search for the structural weak areas in the lower center part, or once again the machine gun port. The last thing about tanks to know is how can you distinguish between jumbos and the M4s, because they look very similar. If you look at this one, looks almost identical to a jumbo. Yeah, now the game bugs out and doesn't show us the tank. Yeah, this looks very identical. The easy differentiation is the jumbo has this giant additional steel plate in the front, and he doesn't have any decorations on the side. Like this side area of the hull doesn't have anything on it. Every M4 has something on the sides, and this is how you instantly know. All right, is this a jumbo or is this an M4? And then you know, all right, always aim for the machine gun, because this cannon, if it shoots you back, is very strong. Now, what about the planes? This is where it gets a bit complicated, because you have actually a lot of planes to choose from, and you can see there's so many folders with double and triple planes that it gets confusing. Here's the short version. If you want to save silver, you can literally stay with your low BR planes, because this low BR fighter Romanian plane is still one of the best planes in Br3 for Germans. It very reliably blows up every tank in the game. It can drop its bombs twice. It has 2 autocannons with enough ammunition to kill a whole bomber raid, and it turns very well, and it has okay speed. This plane is just very, very good. There's no need, and I personally also don't play any fighter plane in mid-BR above this one. Now, if you absolutely want to play another plane, if you're very good at aiming, if you reliably land your bombs perfectly on the tanks, these two planes are actually good, and out of these two, you can just pick whichever you like the most. This one, the only difference is this one has a 20mm with 90 bullets. This one has a 15mm with 200 bullets. So yeah, 15mm is better than it's a bit better than a heavy machine gun, but still worse than an autocannon. So it won't necessarily strafe enemy tanks, but it will reliably kill enemy planes, and you have enough ammunition to do so. So yeah, these are the only significant upgrades over the Romanian fighter plane. Regarding attacker planes, it is a bit more complicated. Once again, if you want to save silver, just stay with your trusty Stuka D5, because this plane still has it all. It has good bomb load, actually a great bomb load, especially for low, but still even mid-BR. And it has 2 20mm autocannons with infinite ammunition. This means you can kill everything in the air and strafe non-stop. So the pure damage output is very high. Out of the Br3 attacker planes, you actually choose from 2 really good versions. And ironically enough, it's not sadly a better Stuka, because this Stuka has a 500kg bomb, but sadly only weak machine guns. So if this had autocannons, I would instantly play it. But since and simply for the look alone, it's one of the best looking planes ever. But the fact that it only has its ridiculous weak machine guns just makes them playable. Now the playable ones are the Destroyer series, literally Zerstörerflugzeug, Bf110. The Bf110s come with, everyone comes with autocannons, a bunch of machine guns, and either bombs or rockets. And this is exactly where you want to make your decision. Do you want to play the bomb one or the rocket one? If you want to play the bomb one, which is much easier to play, you don't even need to grind. You can just get the gold order version with a white snow skin. Yep. But if you want the rocket version, which is one of the most unique planes in the game and most fun to play planes, then get yourself through the work of grinding this whole folder, because this plane is insane. Now, what makes it so good is the fact that instead of having 20mm, it has two 30mm with explosion and penetration effect, so you can blow up tanks with it. And it has a 37mm cannon. Yep, this is literally an interwar period tank cannon that can shred everything on the ground with HE shells. And if you hit even anything that's in the air with it, it instantly evaporates. So this is insane, though it's almost impossible to hit stuff in the air because it flies very slowly. And the lead indicators you will get for this are very much off. So what's the downsides with this plane? Well, it flies like a brick despite being fast and having quite the okay turn rate for a brick. It is a brick, and if the enemy starts shooting at you, you will be always dead. You better not chase the enemy planes. What you want to do is you want to play positional warfare, meaning you want to use information about where enemies are, where you can expect them, and then always go straight at the target and try to deal as much damage as possible. Because this is literally a destroyer plane. Everything you see on the ground will be destroyed. These rockets are absolutely deadly against tanks. If you land a perfect hit, I recommend to watch my rocket shot guide, also the complete guide coming out in the future, where I show how to aim with rockets perfectly, because this plane has its rockets 1.5 meters to the sides. This means you have to aim way off. And aiming way off also means you need to align yourself perfectly straight with the target, which most pilots don't do when they fly. So if you don't practice this well, your rockets will constantly miss. But if you just want to kill a whole group of infantry on the ground, it's okay, it doesn't matter, because there the rockets just destroy everything. Best thing is you release your rockets 2 times, so 2 rockets every single time, which is good because this means you can blow up a whole area on the ground. So yeah, amazing plane, very fun to play, though takes quite a lot to grind until you unlock it. Now, regarding enemy plane matchups, there's not much to know except that since you see that your attacker plane is quite a brick, your American pilots will have a significant advantage because their planes, especially every American pilot, you will basically always see a P-51D in the air against Americans, and this means that you're always having the downside. If the P-51 pilot wants to kill you, he will kill you. You can't outplay this plane with anything on mid-BR in the air. I'm playing this plane even on BR5 because it's just so much better than the other fighters. Now, if you play against Soviets, though, it's not a problem because the Soviet planes also are all bricks. Like, this is a brick. Well, the attacker planes are all bricks. The fighter planes are okay, though ironically enough, it's an American fighter plane. So yeah, this, by the way, the Soviet Romanian IAR equivalent. It fits a very similar role. So yeah, the matchups are in the way that if you see enemy pilots, you need this good plane or any other fighter plane, as already explained. But as long as the sky is safe, just take the attacker plane and kill everything on the ground, because nothing will survive this. The last question regarding planes and tanks is, if you're a free-to-play account, what do you want to play? For the Germans, it's quite simple. If you only have 1 slot and you want to go safe, put in a tank in your lineup, because the chance is the highest for you to actually be able to get a tank slot within a game. If you want to risk it a bit, or if you really want to play planes, just play a fighter plane, because most Germans will play this destroyer plane too, or they will play Stukas. Like half of the time I see a Stuka in Br3 games, and the other, let's say 40-45%, I see one of the BF10 planes. So this means that the fighter plane slot is most often open. And since most people don't know how to perfectly evaluate strength of planes and necessity of planes, they vastly underestimate this plane on Br3, and then they see, oh, the other German fighters in Br3 suck, and that's why they don't play any fighters in Br3. And you will be always able to pick a fighter slot. And for the end, we quickly go over the remaining squad classes. First, with the anti-tank gunners, these are in an ironic spot because despite receiving the best Br3 anti-tank weapon, the Panzerfaust 60, there's no need to play the squad itself, because as I already commented, always have one anti-tank gunner in your Br3 German army to profit from the mighty Panzerfaust, but the squads themselves aren't really useful, especially not if you're playing on free-to-play with only 3 infantry slots. The only reason to play it is if you want to roleplay Volkssturm and just constantly hunt enemy tanks with your Panzerfausts, yes, though it's much better done on Br5 than Br3, because on Br5 you get the actual city maps where it's much more viable to hunt tanks with Panzerfaust, and you also get the stronger Panzerfaust there. So yeah, the squads themselves not that much viable, but still playable if you want it. Then, we already talked about the soldiers and engineers. Flametroopers we also talked about, not really that much worth it compared to the others. Machine gunners, absolutely high tier. What about the medics? Medics I recommend to play on low BR if you want to grind, because they can give you infinite amounts of experience with all the tricks you can do with them, like dropping your med kits everywhere, by equipping them with toolkits instead of med kits for themselves, because you can grab med kits anyway, and then you can just run around, repair friendly tanks and get all the experience in addition to healing, because healing and repairing will give you much more, on average twice as much experience as killing something. So these are good for the grind in the beginning, but once you reach mid-BR, the power level of machine gunners and assaulters just becomes much better. Or just a rifleman squad with grenade launchers will give you more experience in a short amount of time than medics. So yeah, that squad becomes completely obsolete. Also on mid-BR you get access to tier 3 assaulters, for example. And since medics are just power level 1, it can be, well, the squad itself is small and weak. The power level of the soldiers itself is very low. You can still compare an assaulter 2 with a medic 1 squad, yeah, if you absolutely want to, but assaulter 3s are just completely superior to them, so yeah, medics completely useless. Mortar squads, not playable because the mortar is weak. On Br5, mortar squads are playable, because there you can snipe every tank, no matter where it is on the map with your heavy mortars, but the weak mortars on mid-BR are usually just too weak. They're not even reliable against the tanks you're gonna encounter. So yeah, overall not that good. Though if you absolutely want to have fun, you can try it out, but they're more of well, they're just worse than other things you could do instead. Motorbike Squad is by definition obsolete. It's just a worse APC. Yeah, even the speed advantage is not worth it. So yeah, they're basically what happens if you come up with a bad idea instead of just instantly coming up with APCs in a game. So yeah, you can forget about them. Paratroopers, well, they are very universally usable thanks to their boxes. Because if you jump out somewhere, you can get yourself a radio, you can get yourself a hammer, you can get yourself sniper rifles and anti-tank guns and so on. So yeah, they're quite useful, though you either get high BR paratrooper squads at the moment or low BR. To my knowledge, you don't get there are no Br3 paratrooper squads existing for the Germans. This means you will either have a squad that you can't play, or you have a squad that's quite weak because the weapon the squad comes with is just a ridiculously underpowered SMG. So overall, not really much worth it. Though in general, thanks to their flexibility, paratroopers usually get a little bit of a plus in terms of being playable. Radio squads, well, if it's a radio squad with a universal engineer, then yes. If it's just a normal radio squad, then no, because these radio squads are just simply underpowered. And since on mid-BR, you're constantly gonna find enemy planes in the air, bomber raids become completely unplayable. They are barely playable against new players on low BR, but mid and high BR you can forget about bomber raids. And the normal artillery, well, You can put radio man in every squad. So it's the same thing with the anti-tank gunner, it's just not really worth it. Not even with the fast artillery technology unlocked. Riflemen, obviously best squad in Br3. And sniper squads, well, if the Germans had access to a good sniper rifle, they could be argued for, but no, the Germans, it's not really recommendable to play the sniper soldier in Br3 for Germans. So the Br3 sniper squads are completely useless, and of course tanks and APCs highly playable. So what would the optimal, easiest to play German army look like? Very simple, one assaulter squad, one rifleman squad, one APC and a tank. This gives you the biggest power level, gives you the classes with the strongest weapons that are also easy to play, and also the most reliable way to get your units onto the battlefield. Now if you have additional slots, just start mixing up whatever you want. I recommend to, since additional slots are universal slots most often, you can just put in whatever you want. If you used to play free-to-play, try out using different vehicles. Now if you go hardcore into tanking, you can just play multiple tanks. Though I recommend, if you already have a tank, get yourself a plane, because then you can make sure that you always deal with enemy tanks if they cause problems. Because for example, the only American tank that's really problematic is the howitzer tank. Now this tank has the same weaknesses as all the others, just the hull, but its cannon, despite being quite weak against tanks, ridiculously strong against infantry, so you always need to be able to blow this thing up if you encounter it, and you always need ways to reliably do it, and having a tank and a plane just maximize your chances for that. Now if you have additional slots for infantry, I would start adding machine gunners, and if you want to spice things up, just throw in engineer squads or squads with universal engineers so you can get access to the structures, and also flamethrowers. What I wouldn't do is just play the same squad multiple times, because this is the easiest way to have boring games and also to just not become a good player, because if you always use the same squads, you're missing out on lots of strategies and also lots of experience regarding how weapon types play out. Alright, that's it. Let me know what you think and what you would do possibly different. And for the next guides it will be much faster, because we don't have to talk about the basics, and many things that addressed the Germans will also be true for the other nations. So yeah, prepare for likely one video for all the remaining 3 nations in a couple of days. And if you're new to the channel, of course, subscribe and like if you learned something. And until soon, goodbye.